Hi there, welcome to this video. This is your astrologer, Christian Klausner, and today I'm going to break down all of September of 2023 for you so you can see what is coming, get prepared, understand the karmic energy that we're dealing with now, and just know the big story as far as what astrology shows of our evolution and why we're growing through the things we're growing through right now. Number one, America's having its Pluto return, which is where Pluto returns to the space it was in when America signed its Declaration of Independence, when America was born. So this is the first time that Pluto has done a full round for America. And this is sort of like a reintroduction to the things that we have to face that the founding fathers faced in order to create this country. This country is pretty karmic on the world stage as far as the individual's push for freedom in the world. And that's seen not only through America's birth chart, but through real life, through what we observe in life. We see that this country is instrumental in, pushing for the values that will help us evolve as the spiritual beings that we are on this physical plane. We are in Virgo season now, and hang on just a minute because I'm going to get into the charts and show you what is happening in the charts so you can actually see it in real time, what the heavens will be doing. But Virgo season is about Earth. It's about being on Earth. The opposite sign Pisces is about heaven. It's the heavenly realms, the spiritual paradise. Pisces rules escapism, where people can escape into imagination and fantasy and things like that, whereas Virgo rules the hardcore reality. And as we're at the last stage of this summer, this is where the sun starts to decrease in its power. It starts to go more southward, and it approaches the celestial equator. And when it hits that point, that's the equinox, the fall equinox, when the sun comes into Libra, and we have no more summer. And that is the point at which the sun then dips down and it falls below that celestial equator point down to the southern regions, which creates the cold seasons for those of us in the north. So we're in a period of this Virgo season of having to really accept the fact that, things are starting to either fall out of our control, or things are starting to get darker, or we're just having to really accept responsibility for the way that things are going in life. And I'm just going to jump right into the charts for you so you can see what I'm talking about. All right, so I'm going to break down basically all of September for you. And let me see, while I do that, I just want you to know kind of the big picture here, right? So let me get this organized here for you. And make sure to, like the video, subscribe, do all those wonderful things if you don't mind. I really do appreciate it. So also be sure to follow me on Instagram if you're not already doing that here on YouTube. Make sure to follow me on Instagram. I'm Christian Klausner on there. And I go live on there. We do all kinds of fun stuff over there. So basically, we have just come off of this. Here, we'll put my screen there. We've come off of this a Sun-Saturn opposition, which is happening actually at the day of this recording, Sunday, August 27th. And a Saturn-Sun opposition is where we need to embrace the truth of our lives, the truth of ourselves, the things that are coming to light now, the things that are really sobering us up or making us feel incomplete or unsatisfied with ourselves. These are the things that are going to help propel us as we move forward. And it's all about taking responsibility. On a cycle viewpoint, this is like halfway between a Sun-Saturn cycle. A new cycle begins on the conjunction when the sun's going to come around here and hit Saturn, and they come together. That's the start of a new cycle, just like a new moon. When the sun and moon come together, it's a new chapter, a new cycle. So we're at the peak point of the Sun-Saturn cycle, which the sun is our personal power, our willpower, our life, our consciousness. And the Saturn is responsibility, discipline, limitation, death, karma. So we need a balance between these two things. We need a balance between the energy that we're cultivating and the consciousness that we're expanding with, you know, with responsibility, with discipline. And this is just a time starting off in September where we need to make sure we're taking full responsibility for the way that our lives have unfolded. If you can take full responsibility for your experience in life, that is the perfect, most solid, most level foundation to begin building, you know? And that's how you build on a rock and not on sand. Sand slips away from you. You can't build on it. And it's the same as when you don't take responsibility for life, when you blame things outside of you, external to you. All your power comes from within you, from within your state of consciousness. Because when you change the way you look at things and think of things, it changes the way that you feel about things, which will then change the way that you can take action on things and start to influence things in your life. So if you want to start building change in your life, it starts this September by understanding that this Sun-Saturn opposition is a big balancing act. And it's just making sure that our egos are humbled, which is really what happens when the sun enters Virgo anyways. The virtue of Virgo is humility and discrimination and, you know, to discern, to judge rightly. It's the sign of harvest. So this is where we start to separate the wheat from the chaff, the useless from the useful. And we have to be honest about where we're being useful in our lives and where we're being useless, both in a mindset way, what mindsets are useless to us and we need to let go of, and also what actions are we taking that are really contributing to our goals or not contributing. And this is just the reality check that we're all having to face. As September begins, we still have Mercury retrograde here, and we have Venus retrograde there as well. Let me go full screen with this. And so, you know, we're dealing with very intense energies. These are the personal planets very close to the sun, right? And so the reality check can hit that much harder, but people can also be extremely delusional about it. With Mercury retrograde, people can just kind of want to bypass things or blame it on the retrograde. I mean, it's so funny that Mercury retrograde, instead of being used as a time to take responsibility for, you know, ourselves and our own lack of communication skills, we tend to blame it on the retrograde, which is so funny to me because that's so beyond the point of understanding what this ancient language is all about. It's really about just understanding what time it is. And when you know what time it is, you can navigate this reality much easier. It's like if you never imagine you lived life and you never had access to a clock. You could never, ever, ever, for whatever reason, see the time. You were just blind to the time. Even when people showed you their watches, you just couldn't see it. Imagine living that way. It's very hard to be tuned in with the reality we live in if you don't know what time it is, if you don't know. You can still go by the sun then, you know, which would be, that would be a different way to live, but that would be pretty cool. But this is the cosmic clock. This tells us what time it is energetically and where we're growing in our consciousness. And, you know, Mars in Libra now shows that it is time to go on this grand adventure of finding balance in our lives. And Mars in Libra, I was born with Mars in Libra. It's not very strong in Libra. Mars in Libra is the warrior that fights for justice and equality and fights for the underdog, because the opposite sign is where Mars is at home, which is in Aries. And this is where the moon is at the start of September, which is another balancing act. The moon is trying to balance with Mars. So September just seems to be a month where we have to go slow and steady and not rush anything too much and just make sure that we are pursuing with Mars in Libra the harmony, the balance within if we want to see it happen without. And I think it's going to be very important that we do that. I think as we go into this fall, we're going to see a lot of changes occur in the world, and we're really going to be tested as human beings, as Americans, but as world citizens. We're going to have to hold the line for freedom, if you ask me. And not freedom in the sense of chaos if we can do whatever we want, but freedom in the sense of the freedom to uphold the values that enrich our lives, that make our lives better. So September 2nd, sorry guys, hold on, let me go like this. And let me adjust these things here. Just make it a little less busy on your eyes, shall we? Okay. So, and of course, we're going to make this a little smaller. Okay, so we start off September with the moon in Aries, trine Venus on the 2nd, and then it'll conjunct the North Node. So September starts right away with our heads in the right direction, with the moon pulling us towards this Aries vision with the North Node of how we want to create our lives and what we know we have to do or embrace or take action on to see that. We also have Chiron here, so there's this element of healing that we're going to be embarking on this month. And a sensitive heart is going to win the war. It's going to win the battle with Mars in Libra, a Venus-ruled sign. But Venus is still retrograde, right? In the sign of the sun. We have the sun here in Virgo with Mercury. Mercury is the ruler of Virgo. And it's interesting how Virgo is the earth. It rules the reality, and it's ruled by Mercury, this intellectual planet, the sign of the intellect and the mind. We live in a very mental world here on the earth, and the mental plane affects the physical so rapidly. So we do need to be watching our thoughts here as well. September 3rd, Mercury and the sun are getting closer to their Cassini point. We're getting closer and closer to this point at which we're able to actually burn off a lot of this stuff that we're carrying around in our minds that's making life more difficult than it has to be. And until we get to there, which will hit on September 6th at the 13th degree, we're just building up to that with this first week of September by being honest with ourselves, and feeling the pain of whatever is painful to be honest about. But you got to go through that fire and through that pain and endure it so that you can gain what you need to gain from it. Because by passing through that fire, whatever is not for you is what burns off, and whatever is truly you doesn't burn. September 3rd, then the moon's going to enter earthy Taurus, and Venus is going to turn direct in Leo on this day. And so she's going to do that. What hour? Let's see. Evening, right around 7 p.m. Venus turns direct. So we're done with this 40 days and 40 nights of Venus retrograde. Pretty darn cool. And so September 3rd is a nice day. It's a day to celebrate. It's a day to realize that, the things that we've learned with this Venus retrograde, it's time to internalize that. There's been a lot of lessons with this retrograde about things that we want in our hearts, but blocks that we have there, especially with Venus that's been in this square to Jupiter. It's about we're blocking ourselves from what we really want because we're over idealizing it, or we're exaggerating it in our heads, or we don't feel worthy to have it. So these are all the things that we're going to start to move forward from and start to realize. So the 3rd is a day, especially with the moon in Taurus, to get grounded, to touch the earth, to be in nature so you can find a point of stillness and just realize that, you know what? I can have what I want to have. Other people have it too. And to others, it's not a big deal. So it doesn't have to be a big deal anymore. I can have what I want. And this is a time to ground yourself into that self-worth moving forward. But Venus is going to take her time as she moves forward. Look how many days she's going to be stuck at 12 degrees all the way until September 10th. Venus doesn't move a degree all the way until the 10th. So the second week of September is really going to be a time to be patient regarding money matters, love matters, the financial, the romantic, and the social. We need to take our time with all those things. But with Venus direct, we have something that shifts here, which is Jupiter turns retrograde in Taurus on the 4th. So on the 4th, now we have Jupiter retrograde. You can see that in this chart because it's red here. All these red degrees planets are retrograde. We are approaching retrograde city this fall and this winter. We're gonna have a lot of planets retrograde, and it's gonna be intense. I'm not gonna lie to you. There's going to be a big need to identify the change you want to see happen in the world with Uranus retrograde, and to do that inwardly, to be an example of that change, because it starts with the individual. The planet is a collective, and as we all grow in consciousness, the whole planet will change, but it starts with the individual. It always has, and it always will, and that means you. That's why Saturn is this lesson of responsibility. The last planet visible to our naked eye is the planet of limitation and responsibility. That's the last layer. That's the final, that's the foundation. And that's the cherry on top, is the personal responsibility to grow your own consciousness, and knowing no one else can help you with that. Because if I say things here that help you expand your consciousness, it's not really me, it's the light in you growing, because you see where I'm coming from, or you see what I'm saying. It's not me. It is all on you, my friend, when it comes to your own consciousness. And you can do it. You have all the ingredients. You have everything you need inside. And you're learning to trust that. So September 4th, Mercury is going to trine Jupiter as Jupiter turns retrograde, which is a big sign if you ask me. This shows that maybe our minds aren't ready, but we are ready. And if we can communicate that to ourselves and to our souls, and bring our souls forward in our speech, in our thinking, we're going to make a massive leap forward on the 4th and 5th. Because then on the 5th, we have Moon enter Gemini, which is the sign of the mind, right? And the intellect. The moon's going to be in trine with Mars on the 5th and 6th. And that's the last quarter moon. So there's sort of one final push toward wrapping things up. That's also when we have the Cazimi point of Mercury and the Sun during this time. So we're wrapping things up. We're finalizing certain ideas that we don't need to hold in our mind anymore, especially conceptions of ourself and our worth and this kind of service that we can provide to the world. And this is about knowing your value and ramping your value up. Okay. And then then on the 7th, we have the moon in Gemini. It's going to square Neptune. So the 7th, this whole first week, it's been pretty intense, but it's about, it's about embracing these shifts. Venus turning direct, Jupiter turning retrograde, this Cazimi with the Sun and Mercury. So there's a purification of the mind happening. And like I said, just be honest with yourself and you will get through this just fine. But by the 7th, there can be some confusion. So, with the Sun square Neptune. So it's going to be time to start to work on your faith and start to build on that faith and allow your faith to be tested, because that's how your faith grows. Go into situations that are unknown. But I do want to say, any practical thing that comes to mind here in September, definitely act on it. Store extra food, so that you could survive if you couldn't go to the store for whatever reason, right? Just be prepared in life. Maybe start a garden if you haven't done that yet. That would have been the thing to do 4 years ago, but that's okay. It's never too late. Well, sometimes it is too late, but better now than never is what I'm trying to say. Then on the 8th, we have the moon enter Cancer. So very watery energy there. And that's also when the Sun trines Jupiter. So this is actually very, very positive. The second week of September on the 8th, Friday, it starts off extremely positive. The Sun trine Jupiter is one of the best transits ever. Unfortunately, this is after Jupiter's retrograde. So there's going to be things that we're going to have to be challenged to see in a new way in order to get the most out of this. But there's rewards in that too, in making sure that you're opening your mind enough to see things in a new way. And that enhances your mental adaptability, your flexibility, and it's all about reinfusing meaning back into your life. Moon in Cancer on the 9th continues on, and it will sextile Uranus in Taurus, which is really cool. Very good energy for that day, which is about building and being sensitive to the weak spots and where we're building our lives, and where we're not giving care and attention to areas that we need to be. Then the 10th, we have the moon enter Leo. We always love that when that happens, and because the moon will join with Venus. So the moon will conjunct Venus on the 11th. Very warm week this Monday and Sunday. Very warm with the moon in Leo, very creative. This is asking you to see things with a new light and to be, affectionate, playful with the things happening in your life that can be hard being in Virgo season. But Mars is helping to sextile this energy here, which is, fanning the flames in a way. So taking creative or artistic action will just fan those creative flames of the moon and Venus and Leo. And you can really, really start to create some massive love in your life. I think it's amazing that if we look at this, Venus has stationed, and she stations long enough, she doesn't move long enough for Mars to kind of catch up to here so that they can experience a sextile aspect, which is so lovely whenever that happens. And they kind of maintain this sextile, Mars and Venus, all throughout the month. And if you don't know, a sextile merges two complementary elements, Mars and air, Venus and fire. And air fans fire's flames. It makes fire, it encourages the fire, whereas fire heats up the air and allows the air to rise. So this is extremely amazing energy. Look at the sextile. It's maintained all September along because Venus is moving slowly due to her retrograde. It even goes into October, which is so, so cool. So you guys, this is the masculine working with the feminine, helping us to achieve the artistic, creative, symmetrical vision of our lives and to trust our hearts as we take action on it. I think that's very beautiful. So we need to remember that this month, there's an opportunity for us to come together, for opposites to unite and to integrate. And that's going to happen in a big way by creating patience, having a clear perception, because Libra does rule perception, because if you can't perceive where the balance is off, then you might not even know it's unbalanced. So perception is key, but especially having an artistic vision that complements, your realistic, working hard, serving your own life with this Virgo energy here. Then, so where are we at? September 12th. So September 12th, then the moon in Leo is going to start to square Uranus and Taurus. There's going to be some tension around the changes that we have to see in our lives. It can kind of threaten this moon in Leo energy, which is our hearts. Can start to feel insecure, or our egos could start to feel insecure. And this is about learning to trust the changes that Uranus retrograde is building into the money system, being in Taurus, the sign of money, the changes, the shifts that are happening in our security levels in this world. It's all helping us to grow very massively. So have some trust around the 12th. It will be okay because the retrograde with Mercury is almost over. So then on the 13th, moon enters Virgo, where it'll join with the sun and with Mercury to give us our new moon for the month. So the 13th, which is a Wednesday, is going to be the day to start really preparing if you haven't yet for this new moon. And the best way to prepare is like by being aware of the self. That's the best way to prepare for a new moon. And to also fast, if you make sure your stomach is empty on a new moon and that you're just drinking pure, delicious distilled water, you're going to be able to clear out a lot of the things on all levels of your spiritual system because it's all contained in the physical vessel, right? And it's like the physical is the bottom layer. So sort of like if you have a water glass, anything that's dense is going to go to the bottom and you're going to see it there on the bottom. So new moon is sort of a time which shines the light inwardly because the full moon shines the light outwardly where it literally lights up the night and it can be hard to sleep. But the new moon is where it's completely dark. It's the darkest you'll ever see on the earth. And so it lights up the inner light within because the sun and moon come together. So it lights up the human soul. So a new moon is a time for you to prepare by being honest with self, looking within and asking yourself, where am I at? How am I doing? And connecting and communing with God, with the light in your heart, with the spirit, the creator in your heart. Because this new moon in Virgo, which occurs then on the 14th, which is the day of my best friend's birthday. And it's so weird. There was a new moon on my birthday on the 16th of August. My birthday is the 15th, but my solar return landed on the 16th this year because the Gregorian calendar is not lined up with these heavenly cycles, because it's man-made. So there was a new moon on my birthday in Leo. Now there's a new moon on my best friend's birthday in Virgo. I don't know what the odds are of that, but hey, there's a reason we're best friends. And so this new moon in Virgo on September 14th on the 21st degree is going to be trine Uranus. It's in a far off trine from Pluto, and Pluto's in a far off trine from Uranus. So you see this grand Earth trine. So this new moon is constructing new things into our consciousness that will last. So this is a new moon to really clean the slate, get your living space clear. And it's a time to kind of oil the different parts of our lives and make sure it's running smoothly. Virgo is all about efficiency and functionality and technique and, skills and learning how to be in the world more skillfully so that the harvest becomes more bountiful, more plentiful, and more beautiful. And you could think of it as like the gardener who's serving the earth and serving the self by growing these good plants and making the earth grow so that next year you can reap your harvest, you can get your crops. And that only comes through patient effort and through perfecting the skills and the techniques of how to do that. And doing that keeps you alive. So this is a lot to do with like survival and transformation and change in our lives. It's a very, very powerful new moon for many reasons. And it's the day before Mercury turns direct. So Mercury turns direct on the 15th. So right after this new moon, you've realized something, you've grown closer to yourself, you've connected certain dots, and now Mercury's moving direct. So halfway through September 15th, now we're moving forward. But remember, as we move forward, let's look at the planet of forward motion, which is Mars. It's at the 12th step of Libra now, and it's still about moving forward sensitively. There's going to be certain energies that turn on, especially by September 15th, especially after this new moon, after, Venus is direct, Mercury is direct now, and Mars is still leading the pack of the planets, but it's leading it towards the south node. So you're going to feel ready, and you're going to feel maybe really ambitious, but you got to be careful here because there's still 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 planets retrograde. So even though the personal planets, Mercury and Venus, are direct now, and you could feel that in the sense of like, it could feel like, okay, now my relationships are progressing. Now things are moving forward. Things are picking up. But don't forget that there's 6 other planets retrograde. So this is where you start to push forward too hard and you realize that other things are lagging, or maybe they're not ready like you thought they should be. So you got to watch out for frustration now because Mercury and Venus are still moving very slowly. They're stationed. So they're going to be crawling in their movement. Just make sure you're very patient around this time, September 16th. It is nice that Mercury's direct now and the moon's in Libra joining with Mars. So there's going to be a lot of energy here, but I would recommend you let this energy build, but you contain it and you stay very watchful, especially with the moon and Mars together there on the 16th on Saturday. And then that weekend, Sunday, on the 17th, Venus in Leo is going to square Jupiter for the second time, or for the third time of this whole retrograde cycle. And a Venus-Jupiter square is a look at where we are being, where we're exaggerating, where we're being over the top, where we're being overindulgent. We need to watch this now, but I think with Venus hitting this for the last time, moving direct, This is a time where our hearts are really embracing the self-worth, the self-esteem, the inner adoration and affection, and the inner validation maybe that we've been looking for others to give us, and the approval. And it's time to give yourself that approval and to realize you can never ever get it from the outside. You can only get that from the inside. That's the only place where it really counts anyways, because the approval of others is fleeting, and it's based on what? So don't ever look for that. Always look for the approval within, you know, and stay guided from your heart so that you act in the right way. Because it's not about like, oh, I don't need anybody's approval, so I'm just going to be shirtless and kick my feet up and go into stores with my shoes off. There's a level of respect, but I think it's really connected through respecting yourself. Having self-respect will cause you to act in a respectful way towards others, you know. But when it comes to approval, I think we're really learning that the approval is a thing inside, which is about healing our own selves, especially as Venus approaches this trine to Chiron this whole week of September 17th. And then we go to September 18th, which is a Monday. Moon's going to enter Scorpio, waxing in light, growing in light now. So there's some intensity kicking on this Monday. We want to avoid doing things we regret with, the moon working with Saturn there and creating this opposition to Uranus and Jupiter. Monday, Tuesday, September 18th, 19th can be pretty testy days, where you just want to make sure you're balanced and that you're coming off a very strong foundation from that new moon, and that you continue to grow with the things that you've learned on that new moon on the 14th. So yeah, the 19th, we have the sun in Virgo opposite Neptune in Pisces. And this is a big opposition, which we go through every year as long as Neptune's been in Pisces, which Neptune stays in a sign roughly 14 years per sign. So this is another round of having to find balance between reality and fantasy. And we're seeing this in the world through the creation of VR, virtual reality, and AI, artificial intelligence, blurring the lines of what's real and what's not real. And how do we make use of these things rather than become slaves to them? And in our own lives, it's about discerning what's real and what isn't real in your own personal life. When you look at the screen, is what you're seeing real, or is it a fabrication? Or when you look at the screen of your mind, is what your mind is feeding you real, or is that a composite image created from memories, past experiences that have imprinted on you, traumas, things you've gone through? Is it real? And just know that anytime you get into the mind, you get into time, you get into past and future. But when you're in the present, you're in the heart, in the center. And it's a gift to always be in the present. That's why the mind, which is the intellect of this world, Mercury-ruled reality, it's a test. It is a test. That's why the mind is, I believe it's spiritually hijacked, trying to pull you out of the present moment all the time because of this illusion of survival. But I think if we stay in the present, we're going to survive just fine, because in the present moment, you see what is the right thing to do or the right way to act. But when you get stuck in your head, then you can't see, and you do the wrong thing because you act from anxiety, from fear, from lack, from scarcity, or from anger. So we have to be really, really spiritually watchful with this moon in transformative Scorpio, September 18th and 19th. By September, especially with this Sun Neptune opposition, this is the time to infuse magic into your life and imagination and a creative vision, but it's not the time to get lost in escapism and trying to escape. Life is hard, but it's not that hard. The mind makes it seem a lot harder than it really is. If you take one step at a time and maintain a smile on your face, things will work out for you. The world will smile back at you. And I hate to oversimplify it like that, but that's really a very strong, simple foundation. And simplicity is, the foundation of all complexity. So keep it simple. September 20th, moon enters Sagittarius. This is where a lot of positivity can start to come to light, but this is a first quarter moon as we go to the 21st and 22nd. But on the 21st, the sun in Virgo is going to trine Pluto in Capricorn. So this is a fruitful time in this last phase of September to create a lot of change and a lot of powerful production and progression in your life to transform yourself and different things that you see in your life. So it can be the reality can be very moldable at this stage. And it's time for you to really push yourself to create very, very strong action around the 21st. Because the sun trine Pluto is fantastic, especially in earth signs, for creating change in your finances, in your physical life, just creating transformation wherever you see things need to change, to trust yourself and create that change. I think the moon in Sagittarius is really going to help give you that hope and the strength to make that change. So don't lose faith and don't lose hope by September 21st. And then September 22nd, first quarter moon in Sagittarius, and then it enters Capricorn. So we have a lot of earth energy kicking on. But the day after that, on the 23rd, the sun then enters Libra, where the sun will join with Mars, soon to catch up with Mars. And pretty soon, that sun will pass Mars. When does that happen? Let's see. So it looks like it's going to happen. Ooh, man, Mars is trying to hold his spot as first place, but it's going to happen. Oh, look at that. We've got a big Sun-Mars conjunction this November in Scorpio. November is when the sun passes Mars in this race. Oh boy. That's going to be a little bit crazy. Man. So we're preparing for war in a way. Mars is the god of war. The sun is the king of the planets. It's the light, the consciousness. And we're preparing to have a lot of things exposed and to have a really big push towards either freedom or the lack of that. Because it's a war over our soul. That's what we live in. Your soul is the thing being waging a war over. There's higher forces, of course, in our lives. We can see that if we pay attention. And why? What's the whole thing for? What's the point? Well, the point is because of you. Because of you, you're the main character. You have the treasure. You have the soul, the thing that is worth fighting for. So, yeah. Okay. Anyways, September 23rd, the sun enters Libra, and this is the start of autumn, the start of fall. So now we're in fall, and we're in the second half of the zodiac, and the sun is declining, and it will decline all the way until December 21st, which is going to be the winter solstice, which is where the sun hits the lowest point. So we're going deep down into the underworld, and we're going in there with the sun. And Libra initiates it into this. This is sort of the threshold in a way. This is the balance. The length of the day and the length of the night is going to be equal. But the night force is increasing. The nights are going to get longer while the days get shorter. The light is decreasing, and Libra, the goddess holding the scales, is what we pass through, and she lets us through, and we have to walk forward with perception, with balance, and with a connection to our heart, because the heart is the energetic center of our system. It's the energetic balance point. It's the middle chakra, right? You have the three lower and the heart in the middle, and then the three higher ones. So yeah, this is that middle point where the sun finds its humility that it gained in Virgo applied. September 23rd, Libra season starts. And then September 24th, we got the moon leave Capricorn, and it's going to enter Aquarius. So 24th, Moon in Aquarius vibes allows you to create change directions, shift things, disconnect from certain things so you can connect to new things. So there can be a pretty airy shift where, our minds are ready for new ideas, for new shifts, and to see how to apply that. And then on the 25th, we have Mercury in Virgo going to trine Jupiter. Fantastic transit, which we went through when Mercury was retrograde this month. So we're going through it again now with Mercury in a forward direction. This time Jupiter is retrograde. And this is another gift to instill your mind with that optimism that's going to get you through the challenges of your life. So September 25th, as September starts to wrap up here, that's a powerful day to really do the work and pray and meditate and journal and affirm what it is you will achieve for yourself and to claim it, to be powerful about it, be big about it, and to know that you are a creator because you were made in the image of God, in the image of the universal creator. So it's time to get creative in the mind. It's a very creative day, Monday, the 25th of September. Then the 26th, Moon enters Pisces, meets with Saturn, but it'll also meet with Neptune. So this can be very imaginative energy where you really define and structure and create the things that you were working on in your head the previous few days. Then the 27th, Moon in Pisces, it's going to sextile Jupiter in Taurus, another fantastic, lovely day that Wednesday. The 28th, the Moon enters Aries, which is where it was when we started this month. And on the 29th is our full moon in Aries. A full moon in Aries is it's an opportunity to release a lot of things that have put us in a state of contention or anger or combativeness. And it's the ability to see that even our enemy serves us in a very powerful way, in a much, much more powerful way, in fact, than do our friends, because your enemy shows you where your triggers are. Your friends help you get glimmers from life, which is, wow, this moment is so beautiful. Wow, it's so amazing to be so connected and to have this cooperation and this harmony, these Libra energies. But your enemies, the people who thwart you or who test your patience or who insult you, show you where your attachments are to needing the world or needing yourself to be a certain way. And your enemy allows you to let go in a very, very deep way. So this full moon is an ending of how it is you've contended or combated with certain energies in life, and realizing that you can stop this fight, that you can create peace, because it balances with the sun in peaceful Libra, with the moon in Aries, the sign of war, the sign of contention and doing battle and asserting the self. You're going to see on this full moon on the September 29th that you can assert yourself in a powerful way without creating disruption or perturbance, without perturbing your mind or your emotions. And that is indicated that Venus is at 22, square Uranus at 22, perfect Venus Uranus square on this day of full moon. So yeah, our hearts are inventing new tactical ways to allow us to assert the truth of who we are without going to war about it, without going to war with others about it, because we don't wrestle with flesh and blood. We wrestle with spirits and principalities and darkness in high places. And we are guided from within by the light within us. So we actually don't even have to fight the battle. We just let the light shine on the dark and we're winning. And that battle takes place inside, where you let the light shine on the darkness in you and expose your own greed, your own attachments, your own whatever it is that you're dealing with in life. And you shine the light on it. You let yourself see it clearly. And in religion, that's called being convicted of your sin. But that's how you grow. You just realize how evil exists outside of you and inside of you. And if you can be honest with that, then the light will dissolve it. But if you try and hide it, that shadow will rule you. Psychology obviously talks a lot about this, especially Jungian psychology, dealing with the shadow. But the way to deal with the shadow is to shine the light on it. It's really that simple. You got this. Just don't judge what you see. As you shine the light in the darkness within, and you see some ugly, hideous things, don't judge it. Just integrate it and realize that's a part of what it is to be human. And then you will overcome it. But you can't overcome it if you keep judging it or trying to hide it away or make excuses for it or pretend it's not there, right? So this is a very revealing full moon. A lot of deep things we can start to really be honest about, because these cardinal signs, Libra and Aries, are about initiating us into a new state of consciousness. So that's really happening over this full moon at the end of September. And then September 30th, moon enters Taurus, more earthy groundedness, where the moon will join with Jupiter and Uranus, helping to expand these new states of consciousness within. And we also have Mercury and Virgo trine Uranus now. So now Mercury gets a trine with Uranus, that planet that Venus is having a square with. This is where the mind can really actually help out the heart. And this is where a lot of creative communication can take place, and strange new ideas, eccentric ideas can really start to hit your mind, and you're going to start to see how to apply it. But that is the whole month of September right there. So the most powerful thing to me is how Venus goes direct on the 3rd, and then Jupiter turns retrograde on the 4th. So these are the two benefics, and they've had a really weird relationship during this whole 40 days and 40 nights of Venus retrograde. They've been squaring each other. Venus is in the sign of the sun, Leo, a very egotistical but very regal and royal sign, a sign of love and self-awareness. And Jupiter in Taurus, a sign of grounding, earth, and money and security. And these are squaring each other. There's things that the heart wants which threaten the security of our lives. But there's also this need to expand and to grow with the earth and to expand our sense of security, which is possibly also threatening the heart and its need for space and air and freedom and love. And so we just need to find an element of trust in our lives. But also there's an element of preparation that we need to make sure we listen to. With that new moon on the 14th, this is about preparing mentally and spiritually for the things that are going to come in life. Because if you're paying attention, and I'm not talking about watching the news, I recommend you throw the TV out of your window. Make sure you open the window first so you don't break that window, but then throw that TV right out there, because you don't need those programs. The television, they're telling you a vision and programming your mind. I'm not talking about watching the news. I'm not talking about watching TV. I'm talking about paying attention to what's happening in the world. What you see down your street or at the grocery store, or what you're seeing based on what you're hearing from, if anything, alternative sources of media. There's obviously social media, so we're all very, very connected and tuned in. But pay attention to what's happening, because it's going to reveal to you what steps you need to take. You're gonna see, it'll be very clear as long as you pay attention. Don't get lost in some fantastical wonderland, because the world is changing very, very rapidly. And it's time for us to get ready to adapt to crisis. That's always what occurs in Virgo. That's what Virgo stands for, is the adaptability to crisis, because it's a sign of health. And what is health? Health is the ability to bounce back from illness. Health is the ability to heal in case injury occurs very rapidly, and to come back into a state of equilibrium, which we then experience in Libra. But now is not a time to get lost in delusions, in the delusions of Neptune and Pisces, and especially the full moon in Pisces that occurs at the end of August, really setting this very strange tone for all of September. I just really recommend that you, without getting into fear, that you do some survivalist practical things that can help enrich your life in case an emergency occurs. And that will give you peace of mind. And if you don't look at these things and do these things, then don't wonder why you're so stressed or anxious, because there's always going to be that part of the mind which pings you and tells you, hey, did you lock the back door? You know? And you could just sit there and be like, I'm pretty sure I locked it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure, but I don't know. And then you're kind of, there's a weird anxiety in your whole evening. You know what I'm saying? Whereas if that pings and you can just go, oh yeah, let me go check if I did. And then you check and then, oh, I didn't lock it. So you can lock it. Now you have peace of mind. You know what I'm saying? I mean, sometimes action is required to overcome the anxieties of the mind. Sometimes those anxieties are there to help us. And then after you see that it's locked, or if you remember clearly, no, I did lock it, just to use this one example, then put it out of your mind. Allow the thought to pass. And if the thought persists and you can't get away from this intrusive, invasive thought, then develop tools and practices, which is what I want to help you with, which is what I try to help with on my Instagram lives and with these videos, is to come back to the breath. Remember the heartbeat. The heart is pulsing within you in your chest so that you can feel it. And by feeling it, you can become anchored to the present, the only moment you can truly feel anyways. And by being in the present, you can overcome this anxiety and allow the thoughts to pass. But just remember to listen to this deeper source of wisdom within the heart, because it will guide you. I know it's been a little weird and testy with Venus retrograde. Like, can I even trust my heart? Can I even trust myself to get into these relationships and to be, guided in good faith and to be in the present with them instead of projecting my fears and insecurities and other traumas that I've had in other relationships onto them? Can I even do that? And these questions a lot of people are asking themselves, and it's good to ask this. But there comes a time where you need to make a leap of faith to get over that chasm of doubt and fear. And you have to let the rubber meet the road, and you have to practice. And by practicing, you'll get better. But practice doesn't make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. And what is perfect practice? It's the dedication and the discipline to always showing up to get better and better and better. And you will. And you'll see life just get better. But remember, you got to take one step at a time. The biggest things are grown from the littlest things. It's tiny, teeny seeds which create massive plants, which create prolific growth and fruits. So same thing in your own life. This Virgo season is about dealing with the little things in a big way so that you can reap the harvest of the big things later on. But this is about learning to trust yourself with the little things and to see that you can be trusted with them. And if you create an amazing and humble attitude now, humility is about staying close to the earth, staying grounded with bent knees, in a good stable stance, you're going to do just fine. I love you so much. Make sure to check out the links in my bio for ways to get more exclusive content and to support this channel. And I just know that I love you. I really appreciate you. Make sure to follow me on Instagram so you can get all the good stuff there. And just thanks so much. I hope this video was helpful. I hope you gained something from this. Make sure to like the video, subscribe, share it if you want to. And yeah. And I love you very, very much. I can't tell you how much I love you. You can also get a reading with me with the link in my bio. In the description of this video. And yeah, guys, I will see you very soon in the next video. Peace, love, and I'll see ya.